Hello and welcome, David Judge here, and in my last video I spoke to you about how much you should be paying to employ a virtual assistant. Now in today's short video I'm going to answer whether or not, whether or not outsourcing is destroying our local economy. Now this is a really big question and I've been asked this question quite a few times, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to answer this head on and I'm going to give you my real opinion on what I think along with a real life client example. So let's start by talking about what it's like to be in business first of all, and I'll share a few interesting stats. Now, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the number of hours that an employed person, full-time and part-time, works has actually decreased by approximately 1 hour for every decade. So, for example, in the 1980s, the average hours worked by a full-time and part-time combined were 35 hours a week. Then in the 90s, it was 34 hours a week. Then in the 2000s, so 2000 to 2010, 33 hours a week. And if these trends continue, by 2020, we're going to have people working on average, full-time and part-time employed, 32 hours per week. Now, on the flip side, the average hours for a business owner is going up, with over 23% of business owners working 70 plus, yes, I said 70 plus hours per week, with the average across the board of all self-employed being 52 hours per week. 52 hours per week. And that's a whopping 20 hours gap between self-employed people, how many hours they're working, and people that are actually employed within a business. So why do you think the employees' weekly hours are continuing to go down while business owners' hours are continuing to go up? The short answer, business owners are carrying more of the work themselves to cut the costs. And the style of tasks that we're doing in so many instances don't actually offer a direct return on investment, but are still critical to keep the business alive, profitable, and afloat. And to make things even more challenging, the hours business owners need to work to be profitable are just going to keep going up unless they either go out of business or they simply find another way of doing business. Now I know this sounds like doom and gloom, and it does, yeah. But this is the reality for a number of clients that approach us, is they actually understand, they work it out, that they need to do things smarter rather than working harder. And this, my friends, is one of the many reasons that businesses outsource work to VAs or virtual assistants. VAs give business owners back their time and they give them the ability for another person to perform their tasks at a much more affordable rate. Now this is exactly how outsourcing frees up the time of the business owner and actually allows them to start living and creating themselves a lifestyle. But Dave, what about employing people locally and the fact that you're actually going and pushing those jobs overseas? Now based on the statistics alone, the stats alone that I'm shared with you, business owners are reducing the hours they're paying for people to employ locally as it stands, and they're actually doing more of the work themselves. So let's flip this around and let's think about the real results of outsourcing, and I'm going to do this by sharing a real client example. Now, a client of ours was employing 2 receptionists in his office that were completing a number of tasks that included answering the phone, booking appointments, contacting other team members, preparing reports and other stuff. So they had other tasks to do as well. Now he's paying these 2 people approximately 100 grand a year in total if you include the tax and superannuation contributions. Now he'd also pay sick leave and holiday pay, and on top of that he was actually having a number of issues with the 2 people working together, so we'd have to performance manage them during the day a lot of days, which actually would mean he'd have to still do his work every day, so he was working every single night to pick up the slack. Now when we spoke to him, we had a look at all the tasks and we realized that we could change the processes around and we could actually have one VA replace one of the receptionists in his office, which would actually save him approximately 30 grand straight up off the top. Now hear me out. Yes, we did sack one person, so hear me out, and I want to cover off something very interesting as to what happened next, because a few really interesting things happened next. The team members that worked off-site, they were at that time using handwritten reports, and then they would take those handwritten reports and hand them to a person in the office, and then they would actually go and they'd type them out and they would put them out there, and the average report time was 3 business days to actually get from the time a person went in to when they delivered the report. Now because he was outsourcing, he changed the process of what he was doing and he bought all those guys iPads, yeah? He bought them all iPads so they were able to prepare the reports while they're on site. They would then email the report to the VA to have a look over and compile the report, and then the report would be sent out within 24 hours to the client. So what had effectively happened is he'd saved money and he reduced the delivery of his product from 3 business days down to 24 hours. So he went and made it a third of delivery time. Then what actually happened is he actually stood out from the crowd and he got busier, and I mean real busier. Before he knew it, he had to call me, and he called me to get a second VA as the first one was maxed out, and he employed more people locally, 4 more as a matter of fact, to handle the workload. Now, during all of this, he went on an overseas holiday for 3 weeks, which is the first holiday he'd taken in like a decade. So let's summarize here. Let's summarize. He employed 2 VAs, which were both tax deductions as they were a business expense. He let 1 person go from his business, but he employed 4 more people, which means he was 3 more people up. He doubled the turnover of his business. And finally, he went on an overseas holiday for the first time in a decade. Let's wrap up. Exactly. Let's wrap up. VAs free up more time for the business owner to focus on the tasks that offer a direct return on investment, and in many instances, the employment of the VA has allowed the business to continue to grow and employ additional locally skilled people. This has a direct benefit to the local economy, supporting the education of skilled and trade workers, and it allows businesses to grow and flourish. So in reality, outsourcing does the opposite of going and taking business and shrinking the local economy. And in fact, what it actually does is it saves time and money, and it helps the local economy to grow, and more importantly, gives owners back their lifestyle. Booyah. Okay, on the next video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of outsourcing. If you have a question that you would like me to answer, make sure you get in contact with me, and I'd love to hear from you. As always, this is David Judge, talking outsourcing and showing businesses how to get more done, keep your costs down, and enjoy your life.